Are you ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Village of Ridgewood, Village Council. This is a regular public meeting. Today's date is April 13th, 2022, and the time is 8:02 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilwoman Perrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton.
Here.
Councilman Vagianos.
Here.
And Mayor Knutson.
Here. Please join us for the flag salute. Please join us in a moment of silence for our men and women serving our nation and all of our first responders. We have a room full this evening, so please join us in a moment of silence for all of their service to our community. Thank you. I move the bills, claims, and vouchers and statement of funds on hand as of March 31st, 2022 be accepted as submitted.
Second.
Perrin.
With thanks to our CFO, Bob Rooney, for answering all my questions about the bills, yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Knutson.
Yes. I move that the Village Council minutes of January 26th, February 2nd, February 17th, February 28th, March 7th, and March 9th, 2022, having been reviewed by the Village Council and now available in the Village Clerk's office, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Knutson.
Yes. We have a few proclamations. We're going to start with a proclamation read by Deputy Mayor Mike Seaton for April as Tree Planting Month and Arbor Day.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood is proud of its many trees, which contribute so much to the beauty and comfortable ambiance of the village, and whereas trees in our village increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world in recognition of the importance of trees. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation for its extensive plantings and its programs for the maintenance of trees. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim April 2022 as Tree Planting Month in the Village of Ridgewood and April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day, and urges all residents to plant trees to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to support our village's urban forestry program.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. A National Drinking Water Week proclamation by Councilwoman Perrin.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas water is a valuable natural resource, and whereas only tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy, and whereas any measures of a successful society, low mortality rates, economic growth and diversity, productivity, and public safety are in some way related to the access to safe water, and whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which future generations depend, and whereas each citizen of our village is called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, to practice water conservation, and to get involved in local water issues, by getting to know their water. Now, therefore, be it resolved and that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim May 1st through 7th, 2022, as National Drinking Water Week in the Village of Ridgewood.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Reynolds will read Building Safety Month proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas our village's continuing efforts to address the critical issues of safety, energy efficiency, water conservation, and resilience in the built environment that affect our citizens, both in everyday life and in times of natural disaster, give us confidence that our structures are safe and sound. And whereas our confidence is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, laborers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians, dedicated members of the International Code Council, use a governmental consensus process that brings together local, state, and federal officials with expertise in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect Americans in the buildings where we live, learn, work, worship, and play. And whereas the international codes, the most widely adopted building safety, energy, and fire prevention codes in the nation, are used by most U.S. cities, counties, and states. These modern building codes also include safeguards to protect the public from natural disasters such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our communities, largely unknown guardians of public safety, our local code officials who assure us of safe, efficient, and livable buildings. And whereas Safety for All, Codes in Action, the theme for Building Safety Month 2022, encourages us all to raise awareness about planning for safe and sustainable construction, career opportunities in building safety, understanding disaster mitigation, energy conservation, and creating a safe and abundant water supply to all of our benefit. Building Safety Month 2022 reinforces the appropriate steps everyone can take to ensure the safety of our built environment and recognizes that the implementation of safety codes of local and state agencies has saved lives and protected homes and businesses. And whereas Building Safety Month 2022 strives to ensure that the places where we live, learn, work, worship, and play are safe and sustainable, and recognizes that countless lives have been saved due to the implementation of safety codes by local and state agencies. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, Americans are asked to consider projects to improve building safety and sustainability at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim May 2022 as Building Safety Month and encourages all residents to join in participation in Building Safety Month activities. That was a long one.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Good job. Great job. Councilman Vagianos will read a proclamation recognizing May as Older Americans Month.
Whereas the Village of Ridgewood includes a growing number of older Americans who have built resilience and strength over their lives through successes and difficulties. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood benefits when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds are included and encouraged to share their successes and stories of resilience. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood recognizes our need to nurture ourselves, reinforce our strength, and continue to thrive in times of both joy and difficulty. And whereas the Village of Ridgewood can foster communities of strength by creating opportunities to share stories and learn from each other, by engaging older adults through education, recreation, and service, and by encouraging people of all ages to celebrate connections and resilience. And whereas the 2022 theme is Age My Way, which will be focusing on aging in place, how older adults can plan to stay in their homes and live independently for as long as possible, and explore the ways many older adults can remain in their communities, living independently for as long as possible, and participating in ways they choose. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim May 2022 as Older Americans Month, and urges every resident to recognize older adults and the people who support them as essential contributors to the strength of our community. I just want to say that this is something that's very important to me, that Ridgewood's always been known as a community to raise your children in. And we need to make it so comfortable for our older residents that it becomes known as a community to live in once your children have grown. So it was my pleasure to read this.
Thank you, Councilman, and you did a terrific job, too. Okay. With that, we're going to have some step down onto the floor for some fire department awards. As many may recall, back as COVID was upon us, there was a terrible fire on Broad Street at the Bagelicious location, and all of our first responders did an amazing, outstanding job, and it was just really a time when so many things collided, and it was a scary moment for everyone. And this is maybe a little bit behind schedule here, but we're here to do this tonight, and I invite my council colleagues to step down on the floor, and I think our chief, there he is, Chief Judge, is going to step up.
Perfect. This is great. Good evening, everyone. First off, I'd like to thank Village Manager, Mayor, Council for affording me these few minutes just to honor the members here tonight for their actions and a couple different events that happened. Obviously, due to COVID, we weren't able to do this sooner, so all the awards tonight are from actions in 2020. The first award tonight will be a life-saving award. Actually, last year, the New Jersey FMBA, our union, held Valor Awards, and there was a group medical award. It is one award given to one person in the entire state for actions taken, and these two gentlemen won it for that category for what they did. So they were dispatched for a party, we'll say, with uncontrolled bleeding from a dialysis graft, very bad hemorrhage. Upon their arrival, about 30% of the patient's blood loss had already happened. Patient was confused, patient was diaphoretic, sweating a lot, very low blood pressure and going into shock, and would have died. People with the patient at the time were not doing anything at all due to a medical condition the patient had, and they were concerned to touch the patient. Unfortunately, the patient was bleeding out. These two gentlemen immediately noticed the situation, the dire situation at hand. They applied a tourniquet, they stopped the bleeding, they provide supportive care as well. Once the paramedics got on scene, worked with them, and transported the patient to the hospital. The life-saving award is for alert action in saving life, and they could not have done anything quicker than what they did to save this person's life. So I'd like to bring forward two people, firefighter Mark Barone, and also firefighter Matthew Bombase, who unfortunately is sick tonight. His brother, I know it just happened. His brother, firefighter Tim Bombase, is going to come up and accept the award in his honor. Please round of applause for them. All right, the next two awards are for the Broad Street Fire, April 5th, 2020. Yes, it was 2 years ago now. The first goal of the fire department is life safety. That is what we are here for. NFPA, National Fire Protection Agency, puts out these statistics of the most ideal amount of people to have on scene at fires. which pretty much no fire department in the entire United States can meet these standards of what they're looking for. For a fire like this, we're looking between 28 and 43 people at the minute you arrive, pretty much. We had 12. You're dealt with a progressing fire conditions, a 3-story building, fire spread, blackout conditions inside, first floor is burned through on the first floor when they made entry, staircase was on fire, 1 confirmed trapped occupant, also report of another elderly couple trapped above English's as well. The unit citation award goes to the initial responding crew for everything they did to ensure the life safety of everyone reported in that building, whether they were there or reported to be there. Whether this was the ladder crew who set the tower up, it was the gentleman who went up the staircase that was already on fire with their hose line, if it was somebody searching another apartment that was in blackout conditions with a hole in the floor, those who made entry through a first floor window, those who took the first line to attempt to start extinguishing this fire just to control it back enough to have any rescues that would need to be happened. For their heroic efforts, for their acting without hesitation, I'd like to bring forward the following people for a unit citation award. Before I do, though, the only other thing to remember is this was a very large group effort. I am honored by the actions of these members. I also have to, though, talk about the 16 other off-duty Ridgewood firefighters that came, as well as the numerous mutual aid agencies that arrived. Without the help of the other department members, the other mutual aid agencies from all the towns, I think we had probably upwards of 12, 13, 14 other towns with us as well. We would not have had the whole scene in the end come to where it was with the ending it did. So I thank them all as well. But coming forward, please, Lieutenant Jason Kane, firefighter Thomas Benatendi, firefighter Tim Bombase, firefighter Paul Brennan, firefighter Kurt Harba, firefighter Brian Kelly, firefighter Oscar Martinez, firefighter Mike McLaughlin, firefighter Matt Musicant, firefighter Michael Rohrman, and firefighter Chris Wolfster. All right, so I talked about life safety being our primary goal and what we do. And that night, we did. A life was saved that night. Upon arrival, as we talked about, we have deteriorating conditions, blackout conditions, zero visibility. We talk about usually you try to go into a building with a hose line, search off of a hose line. But when you know somebody's up there, when you were told someone was there, you have to go in no matter what. The truck company set up the ladder, 3rd floor. They went in, smoke pouring out, zero visibility, because there was a confirmed trapped occupant. I was told by bystanders they really did not think this person was going to make it. She did. So I'd like to give the highest honor we give, which is the Medal of Honor, to firefighter Mike McLaughlin for rescuing the victim that evening and bringing her to safety. And she is alive and well today because of him.
So we're first going to start by saying thank you to everyone. And as I just look in this audience and I see children of our first responders, I see parents of our first responders, husbands, wives, family members, friends, every moment of every single day, our first responders are there to take action when action is necessary, to save a life, to preserve property, to lean in and to step into danger. And so for that and for your efforts and the efforts of everyone at the Bagelicious and for everything, we say thank you, congratulations, and just thank you for a wonderful, wonderful work and for your bravery. So thank you.
Can we do a picture?
Okay, very good. All right, with that, we're going to go to public comment, not to exceed 3 minutes per person for a total of 40 minutes. Wait, hang on 1 second.
She, with the ladies' room.
Oh, sorry, we're just waiting for Councilwoman Reynolds. Sorry, Rory. Thank you. All right. Go ahead. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Could you just push the button, Mr.
Rory, just
Hallaby?
make sure, is the microphone on? Is that
At the
on?
bottom. Thanks.
Just give it a little test. 1, 2, 3. Make sure we're clear.
1, 2, 3.
Good. Perfect.
Rorik Hallaby, 1 Franklin Avenue. One comment I should make about older people. At one time, someone described Ridgewood as a village for kids. I say Ridgewood is a village for kids of all ages. Anyway, now I'd like to make some comments about Mr. Vagianos and his conflicts of interest. I disagree with Mr. Vagianos recusing himself whenever the village council votes on matters related to the CBD. Yes, Paul does own 2 properties and a restaurant in the CBD. Everyone knows that. There is nothing wrong in voting for something in your personal interest if it is clear to everyone that you do have a conflict of interest and that you disclose it. One thing that Paul Vagianos may consider doing is stating before casting a vote that might be considered a conflict to remind the public of that fact. Paul, you and a handful of committed leaders led in the revival of the CBD. By recusing yourself, you are effectively hurting Ridgewood by eliminating a knowledgeable vote. And by the way, I understand that Lorraine Reynolds, directly or indirectly, is a big holder of Ridgewood real estate. Are her properties disclosed? I have no idea. I might be wrong. Now, let's talk about the Shedler deliberative documents. I opened the correspondence between the village and SHPO to obtain recent plans that have been exchanged, but I was told the documents were unavailable as they were deliberative and not final. You know, I was not born yesterday, and so my reflection is, what do these people have to hide? You'd think that with the mess that we have with Shedler, the village council would seek all the help it can get as it's finalizing the plans. I urge you to make these plans, however preliminary they are, available to the public. One more comment about the master plan costs and expenses. I have requested the total costs and expenses so far and projected for the master plan. When can I get the figures? Is it 100,000, $500,000? I have no idea. No one knows. My last comment is on Franklin Avenue repaving. Let me ask again, what is the status of the project to repave Franklin Avenue? Whenever I ask the question, Susan Knudsen turns to Heather Maylander and asks her to call the county to find out. I still have not been given an answer, which begs the question, why doesn't Heather Maylander know the answer anyway? Why does Susan Knudsen have to ask Heather Maylander to find out information on a critically important project?
Thank you, Warwick.
Also, speaking to someone I know who knows the
Warwick,
county politics,
Thank
it
you,
looks
Warwick.
like we may not have finished the work that we need to have.
I'm going to
Thank
go.
you.
Warwick, just hang on one
Thank
second. Warwick, hello. Could you? I just want to give this to you. That's for you. If you have any questions,
Not this one.
you can try. All right. You're
I'm
welcome.
guessing it's not a check.
All right. Very good. Anyone else? Public comment? All right. If no other public comment, we will close public comment and move on to the village manager's report.
Okay, I'd like to thank all of the village employees who assisted in quickly removing vehicles from the Village Hall parking lot and putting up the door dams at Village Hall during last week's heavy rain on Thursday night. I'd also like to thank all of the other Village of Ridgewood employees who went on calls and assisted on that night in various locations. In addition, I want to thank Nancy Bigos, Chris Edesauser, Matt Andrula for their assessments of field areas affected by the storm. The good news is it looks like Veterans Field will be opening on Saturday, April 16th, while Maple Park Field must be restored prior to it being used due to the flooding on the turf field. We have a resolution on the agenda tonight to award a contract to restore Maple Park Field so that the restoration can be accomplished as soon as possible. I want to thank all who organized the 2022 Act Now for a Green Ridgewood event, including Green Ridgewood, Ridgewood Parks and Recreation, Recycling Ridgewood Water, and the Conservancy for Public Lands for organizing an outstanding event this past weekend, which included the Earth Day Fair, various vendors, the Daffodil Festival, and the Daffy Dog Parade. Despite the chill in the air, there was a good turnout and a lot of good information on environmentally friendly initiatives. Easter in Ridgewood is presented by the Ridgewood Chamber of Commerce this Saturday, April 16th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Memorial Park at Van Ness Square. Come and participate in the Easter Bonnet Contest. Bring the family and enjoy the music, arts and crafts, and the guest of honor is the Easter Bunny. I want to remind everyone the park and ride on Route 17, for the time being, there is free parking in that lot. There are no kiosks, and Park Mobile does not work in that lot. The New Jersey Department of Transportation is now running and maintaining the park and ride lot, which used to be done by the village. There should be signs posted at the park and ride once New Jersey Department of Transportation requires payment at that lot. Yard waste collection has started up again and will be picked up once each week. Please check the schedule listed in the village calendar for your area pickup dates. 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's will be presented Tuesday, April 19th from 10:30 a.m. to noon in the Annie Zuzi Lounge in Village Hall. Free informative and educational presentations sponsored by Ridgewood Parks and Recreation and the Ridgewood Health Department. Free lunch and giveaways will be provided. Registration is required on Community Pass, or you can call Recreation at 201-670-5500, extension 301. The senior bus, all restrictions have been lifted, and it now has a 12-passenger capacity, and will take reservations for that number of riders for the Tuesday and Thursday operation. Every other Wednesday, the operation actually takes everyone to ShopRite and Wyckoff with slightly less riders, so there is enough room for the grocery bags. For their 70th year, the Ridgewood Baseball and Softball Parade will take place walking from the train station to Veterans Field for their opening day and family celebration on Saturday, April 23rd. This event will include food trucks, a DJ, bounce houses, and various vendors. All residents are invited to attend to cheer on the teams and participate in the Family Fun Day. A Ridgewood mobile shredding event is scheduled at Graydon Pool parking lot on April 30th from 9 a.m. to 12:30 or until the truck is full. I recommend you get there at the earlier end of it, between probably 9 and 10, only because once that truck is full, which tends to be before 12:30, it does go, and it's the end of the event. It is held rain or shine, and it's sponsored by our Ridgewood Recycling Department. There's also a recycling event for Bergen County residents, sponsored by the Bergen County Utilities Authority. It's being held Sunday, April 24th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Again, rain or shine. It's being held at Bergen Community College, which is on Paramus Road. They have mobile paper shredding there, electronics and computers, and unwanted medication collection. You will need a Bergen County ID or your driver's license showing that you live in Bergen County in order to participate. Graydon Pool, the early bird discount is through April 30th. Also, day camp sign-up is available, and it's all done through Community Pass. Please note that starting Wednesday, May 4th, there will be a ban on plastic and paper bags being given out by grocery stores. Please plan to have reusable bags available for your shopping needs. Essentially, everyone has to bring their own reusable bag for all shopping they do at grocery stores. In addition, the clamshell styrofoam containers that some restaurants put their food in to go or leftovers will no longer be permitted. This is a New Jersey state law and not a Village of Ridgewood ordinance. If you are interested in an outing to the 2022 Philadelphia Flower Show, Ridgewood Parks and Recreation is offering a day trip and it's scheduled for June 13th. Further details and reservations can be made at Community Pass or in person or by mail to the stable at 259 North Maple Avenue, and the phone number is 201-670-5560. Free radon test kits are available to Bergen County residents. Radon is the leading cause of lung cancer among non-smokers. The Bergen County Department of Health Services recommends that all homes be tested for radon. It's easy, and homes with high levels of radon can be fixed or mitigated. You can install a radon mitigation system yourself if you are highly experienced, or you can hire a New Jersey certified radon mitigation company. For a free radon test kit, please contact the Bergen County Department of Health Services at 201-634-2804. I want to remind everyone that this coming Friday is Good Friday and all village offices will be closed. There will be no garbage or recycling collection on that day. The recycling center will also be closed on April 15th. However, the recycling center will be open on Saturday, April 16th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. I encourage you to sign up for e-notices on the village website to keep informed about village events and timely notifications. Village Council upcoming meetings are April 27th, May 4th, and May 25th are public work sessions at 7:30 p.m. May 11th is our Village Council public meeting at 8 o'clock p.m. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Perrin.
Thank you, Mayor. As the village manager mentioned, we had the Daffodil Festival and Earth Day celebration on Sunday, and that was sponsored in part by Green Ridgewood. We had many new exhibitors, my favorite being Feeney's Funeral Home for their green burial. And I don't know the results of the Cahoots contest yet, so I'll mention that at the next meeting. The Chamber of Commerce met this morning and heard a presentation made by the Bergen County Division of Economic Development. They have a free program for small businesses called Size Up, which customizes data and helps small businesses make good business decisions. they can, it's a computer tool that they have specialists help the businesses with based on location, number of employees, revenue, what's the competition in your area, and where are your local suppliers. It looks like a really good tool, and so if businesses are interested, I forgot to get the website address, but it looks like a really good program. The Central Business District meets tomorrow. Guests are welcome. If you're interested, email me and I can send you the link for the Zoom meeting. Open Space Committee meets on April 21st together with the Parks and Recreation Conservation Board. This is our annual joint meeting that's at 7 o'clock in the Youth Lounge here in this building on the first floor. If anyone has input for the new open space plan or for that aspect of the master plan, specifically regarding parks, recreation facilities, and our wildscapes, you can email your contributions or thoughts to the firm that's drafting these documents. That is the Land Conservancy of New Jersey. Tomorrow is the last day to submit, and the email address is bhdavis@tlc-nj.org. Also, you've probably noticed that the dining corrals were discontinued, and I'd like to read part of an email from a Ridgewood resident named John Flanagan. He says, "I do not believe that the opposition to the dining corrals by local retail goods businesses can substantiate their claims of revenue loss. I am highly doubtful of any such retail business being able to empirically prove that any reduction in their revenues can be directly correlated to the repurposing of 18 parking spots when there are so many other obvious economic factors that are undeniably more impactful than being able to park within 10 feet of a storefront's door. Pandemic, post-holiday lull, winter, inflation, etc. Restaurants can easily and accurately correlate revenue impact by introducing the corrals and outdoor dining availability and subsequently the removal of them. More to the point, they have provable data that can be compared to industry-wide analytics across the country. Ridgewood should set an example, not be the exception, when evaluating how neighboring towns and villages have chosen to welcome this positive and impactful change that residents have come to love. Sincerely, John Flanagan." Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Bagianos.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, Councilwoman Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't have any committee meetings since last week, but I also want to say that Earth Day and the Daffodil Festival was fantastic, and I thank everybody that had any input into it. It ran smoothly. It was a great day, a little chilly, but beautiful. And all of the vendors, I mean, there were so many people there. It was great. Project Pride had a table there, and we got many people to volunteer for our planting day, which is May 22nd. If there's anyone out there who would like to help us, we're looking for a 2 to 3 hour commitment on that Sunday morning, May 22nd. And if you have any interest, you can email me at lreynolds@ridgewoodnj.net. We have our next Project Pride meeting next Wednesday, and Citizen Safety Advisory Committee meeting is next Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, our village manager is here as always, which is good, and all the department heads are here. So this really ties in perfectly to my first report of the Green Ridgewood Green Team Committee. So the Green Team met on Monday, and everybody got their assignments. So members of the Green Team will be fanning out, contacting the village manager and all the department heads, because it is an expansive application, to gather up information to put our application together for our first submittal, which is May 22nd. So that's only the first one. There's 2 more after that before the final. But these members do have their assignments, so we're renewing some of our actions, a couple new actions, and I just want to kind of let everybody know that they will be in touch with all of you. So if you could kind of help out and get them information in as timely a manner as possible, it would be greatly appreciated so that we could be recertified at a silver level. Right now we have enough points and actions to be certified at a bronze level. But since we're currently still silver, we want to be recertified at silver. So just those few extra points and a little bit of help from everybody would be greatly appreciated, and we'll get it done for the final submission in November. And my second report is the Shade Tree Commission met yesterday, and everybody's very excited. This is a big meeting for the Shade Tree Commission. The tree protection ordinance is on for a public hearing and final vote. So if that passes, the commission is devising ways to go out to the community to help people understand what's in it, what they need to know, and how we could kind of get the word out. And then there's also the budgetary issues. I believe some members of the commission met with Director of Parks and Rec, Nancy Bigos, this morning or this afternoon, I believe. So again, the commission's there to offer up any help that we can in any of these matters. There's going to be extensive plantings based on the dollar amount in the capital budget, and a lot of good projects downtown. There's also going to be tree removals from the emerald ash borer that we're still dealing with. So it's going to get real busy, and the commission just wants to let everyone know they're there to help out in any way that they can. And that's everything I have. Thank you.
Thank you. So first I'm going to say Earth Day was absolutely amazing. I agree. Feeney Funeral Home was actually interesting, fascinating, and everyone should Google that. These new ways of, I guess, being buried and cremation, and how this actually can be used to help trees and to help the environment, and so it's really fascinating. Everyone should Google that. I think everyone did an amazing job, and I know Councilwoman Reynolds was out there with Project Pride handing out seed packets. Shade Tree was out there handing out trees and whips. What are they called? Whips. Whips. And but it was just really, it was an incredible day. It was really, really cold, but it was a great day. The Mayor's Wellness Campaign kicked off last week with the Lifestyle Challenge. Thank you to the Ridgewood Health Department. I just want to announce that the Village of Ridgewood has been recognized, the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, as a New Jersey Healthy Town Up and Coming for 2021. It is for our commitment to improving the health and wellness of our community. We received a wonderful plaque and also a terrific banner. So we're really excited about that. We encourage everyone to participate, get out there, and participate in our lifestyle challenge. The 4th of July committee meeting was canceled this past Monday evening due to spring break, even though I believe none of the members have children in school, but that's okay. We all took spring break, but I am happy to announce that once again, all of the 4th of July activities are in place, being planned, and this year's fireworks will be by Grucci, not to be confused with Grucci, and we are awaiting permits for our raffle tickets, which is part of the fundraiser for the 4th of July committee. Also, Historic Preservation Commission meeting has been canceled tomorrow evening. We have no applications, and it is once again spring break, and that committee actually does have members that have children, and almost all are away. So that meeting has also been canceled. And I did want to two other items. Last week, I was very troubled by a comment that was made by a member of the public. That twice it was stated that ending or delaying grab-and-go parking spaces was mean-spirited. The term mean-spirited was used twice at this village council. And I can assure everyone that there is nothing about any of the decisions that this village council makes that could or should be construed as mean-spirited. There's not one person up here on this dais that is mean-spirited. The decisions that we make are sometimes complicated. There are competing interests. They are complex decisions that have to be made, and our decisions impact, especially downtown, business interests, the interest of landlords. So it's a little bit more complicated, and that the term to call members of this village council their actions as being mean-spirited is just unfortunate, unnecessary, and unwarranted. So with that, we will go on to our ordinances. Right? Okay, very good. I move the clerk read ordinance 3895 by title on second reading.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3895?
Calendar year 2022, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 48:4-45.14.
Thank you. There was an issue with the publication of ordinance 3895, so the public hearing on ordinance 3895 will be held on April 27th, 2022, at a special public meeting.
I move that April 27th, 2022 be fixed as the date for the public hearing on ordinance 3895.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. With that, we'll go to our 2022 budget hearing.
Okay, I'm going to have Bob Rooney, our Chief Financial Officer, come up, and we have a PowerPoint presentation. You ready? Okay. So, budget summary with proposed amendment. We have operating and capital budgets, 54.9 million operating budget, a 7.5 net million general capital budget. The tax increases, municipal tax increase is 1.99%. This will be approximately $93 increase on an average assessed home value of $702,349. Revenues and expenses are up approximately 2.9% from the prior year. The tax increase results from 2021 revenue shortfall as a result of COVID-19, years of modest or no tax increases. We had 2 years of 0% tax increase. We had a 0.99%, 4 years ranging from 1.2% to 2.2%. Use of one-time non-recurring revenues. The municipal tax rate increase minimized as a result of the ability to utilize the 3-year average of the prior year's revenues and the availability of American Recovery Funds. 2022 goals. Due to the Village Council approving a robust amount of capital money for trees and tree replacements, the result will be replanting trees, revitalizing tree wells in the Central Business District, and then planting and maintaining the new trees throughout the village. We will award a contract for $2 million in 2022 for paving projects for village streets. We will complete the construction and move Ridgewood Water into their new headquarters building at 111 North Maple Avenue. We'll continue the West Glen Avenue sidewalk installation project, install a pedestrian activated crosswalk signal at West Glen Avenue and Hillcrest Road. We'll increase the community policing presence throughout the village. Continue working on the plan for the Shedler Park property with the State Historic Preservation Office so that we can obtain approval for the driveway entrance, the parking lots, the field, the walking paths, the restrooms, and playground, which will move the project forward. We'll continue working on the restoration of the Zabriskis Shedler House. We'll successfully complete the first year of the food waste disposal pilot program and evaluate the data to determine cost of running a full program. We'll oversee and complete the installation of a new phone system for village offices and buildings. We did hold a summer job fair to meet with candidates interested in summer employment in order to encourage additional candidates to apply for seasonal positions. hold a traditional summer day camp program and a traditional season at Graydon Pool, remove additional ash trees on public lands due to infestation by the emerald ash borer. We'll seek options for the collection of recyclables that can help limit the costs associated with a reversal in the market. We'll expand the Water Smart portal for customers of Ridgewood Water, where they will have access to many aspects of their account, including water usage, payment of bills, and other important information about Ridgewood Water. Ridgewood Water will continue to pursue PFAS treatment facilities in various locations throughout the utility. We will encourage other public water utilities to join with Ridgewood Water in coordinating efforts for recovery of PFAS expenses. We'll design and implement a facility scheduling process and community pass to view all reservations, practices, and games on one master calendar, which will assist the sports groups, the Recreation Division, and the Parks Division as they prioritize field use and maintenance. We'll successfully complete the construction of the Passaic Valley Water Commission interconnection and pipeline project, securing an additional 3 million gallons per day of water sourced into the Ridgewood water system. Upgrade the lighting in various areas of the Central Business District, determine the best way to reallocate parking spaces throughout the Central Business District, given less people commuting to New York City. We'll determine a way to encourage area residents to dine, shop, and do business in Ridgewood Central Business District, and increase Wi-Fi coverage in the Central Business District. We have various challenges in general, negotiations for the new police union contract, defensive tax appeals, appraisal costs, court settlements, recovering from COVID, impact on revenues, police overtime, stabilizing the infrastructure, and one-time revenues. In water, our challenges are weather conditions, stabilizing the infrastructure, compliance with new EPA water quality regulations, and PFAS debt. In parking, we're recovering from COVID impact on the parking revenues. We do have opportunities with expansion of our technology platforms and new tax ratables due to developments. Mr. Rooney.
So first, let me apologize for the small print. I did the best I could to enlarge this and get it all on one page. The journey from introduction to adoption proceeds with the Division of Local Government Services. It's a process of give and take and compromise, and as a result, similar to last year, we are required to amend the budget this evening, and I'll go into the details in a second. The pie chart here indicates the revenue sources that comprise the annual budget, property taxes being 67% of the total of almost $55 million. In the appropriation side, 10% of the budget is for public works, 27% for public safety, 13% for statutory expenses, which includes pension costs, and approximately 12% for insurance. So the amendment in both the revenue and appropriations involves basically the movement of expenses from what we initially budgeted to reserves or trust funds that we have available. In addition, in the revenue side, we had some compromise on what we anticipated as revenue to what the state would allow. So the basic change is in general capital fund surplus, requiring a reduction of $662,000, allowance for FEMA hurricane reimbursement of $251,000, reserve for debt service of $39,000, a reduction of police other trust usage of $134,000, and the balancing of the American Recovery Grant programs. So the overall, and in addition, it required the use of an additional $215,000 of surplus. So the revenue stream was reduced by approximately $278,000. On the appropriation side, we moved funds from $147,000 from police for anticipated terminal pay to our terminal pay trust, $87,000 from our stormwater costs to stormwater trust, and $48,000 from our health budget amounts for salaries and wages and OE to our upcoming health grant. That offset the reduction in the revenues of the $278,000. In addition, the state required that we break out our PERS cost for statutory expenditures in the water utility and modify the interest on the emergency notes to include such in the amendment. Bottom line is the amount to be raised is the same as we introduced. The average tax increase on a home assessed at $702,349 will be $46.37 for municipal purposes, resulting in approximately $93 monthly annual increase. And as I indicated, the amount to be raised will stay the same. And lastly, the breakdown of your 2022 tax dollar. The village is comprised of 24% of the total tax bill, almost 65% is school, and approximately 11% is county. Any questions?
I just had a question. So it's $93 a month?
So when you multiply, it's at $4,600 roughly.
Say that again?
The $4,600, divide that by 12. I'm sorry, I apologize. Not a month. I apologize. I misspoke. It's the $46.37 is the annual cost. It'd be $40-some odd a month.
Right, could you just go back to the first slide? Is it the first slide?
Here. On this slide, you see the municipal increase, the $46.37 for the municipal purposes.
Right. You're saying the 2022 taxes on the average assessed value.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, it's on. So you're saying just for the municipal taxes, it's going up $4,600?
Correct. On a home assessed at $702,349.
Just on the municipal side?
Yes.
That's impossible.
Right.
Because then the school is usually, 65%. So that means on the school side, even if they stay at 2%, the taxes on the average house just for school is going to go up over $8,000 a year.
I think that's the total. It's a total number there, right?
Yeah, it has to be the total. Like what is the increase for the monthly
I'm sorry.
payment?
I apologize. That is the total. I apologize. It's not the increase. The increase is the $93 over last year. 45.
But it's 93 for the year, not
I'm sorry.
93 a month.
I misspoke. There was a typo on that first slide that I
Okay.
I went
I'm
back
freaking
to.
out here.
I was thinking, that's a pretty big 2%.
Too
Yeah.
bad today wasn't April 1st. I could have got
Okay.
away with that. Sorry.
So on the first slide, it did say $93 a month.
Incorrect.
And I've been sweating since then. Okay. So it's 93 for the year.
Correct.
On the average home.
Correct.
For the municipal side.
Right.
Just the municipal.
Okay.
Good.
So 93 divided by 12 is whatever. That's the monthly extra for
$8.
just the
It's
municipal.
about $8 a month.
Okay. And that's just on the municipal side.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Now that we've cleared that up, anyone else? Councilwoman Perry?
No, I think that was the most important question that could be asked tonight.
Yeah, we were really going to get dinged for that outside of this meeting, I think, if that wasn't cleared up.
It's all
Yeah,
good.
thank you, Lorraine. You saved our life.
Okay. So no other comments? All right. All right. We're going to move on to our public hearing. Okay? Did we need Bud for anything? Okay. All right. Very good. Will the clerk please read the title of the 2022 budget?
2022 municipal budget of the Village of Ridgewood.
Okay. That was it. The public hearing on the 2022 budget is now open.
Rorick Hollaby, 1 Franklin Avenue. First, a couple of points. I beg you, replace these with things twice as big. I can't read them in spite of my eye surgery. Cindy can't read them, and she's got better eyes than a hawk. And Secondly, I was kind of surprised. I was sent a copy of this by a friend of mine, but this never came to me in the mail. Did that go to every household? Probably did not come to the apartments. You know, we're still residents of Ridgewood, even though we moved to an apartment. So, anyway, my third point is I beg you to instruct my good friend Bob Rooney to have a town hall meeting in which he can explain the budget to the residents. You owe it to the residents to know where their money is coming from and where it is going, and few people can do it as well as he can. And you know, I mean, I went through the budget, even the simplified, user-friendly budget. I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. Now, having said that, I thought I would just focus on one thing, which is the so-called parking utility. Could Bob Rooney tell me, in a very simple way, what the sources and uses of the funds related to the public utility are, where they come from and where they go? And for the years 2019, which is before COVID, 2020 and 21, what were the revenues for the parking utility and what were the expenses? Looking through the budget, they're kind of broken up in different places. It's difficult to track them down. And I'd like to know what the equivalent figures are for what is being budgeted for 2022. So just taking the parking utility, what was actually came in and went out for 3 years, 2019, 20, 21, and also what is being budgeted for 2022. Also, while we're looking at it, what is the annual cost of a parking enforcement unit? How many people are employed? I think 6 people are employed. I think it might be more, might be less. And what is their annual remuneration in salaries and benefits? I could only find one thing, which is what the contributions to the retirement and Social Security for budgeted for this year of $100,000. So I assume, and what numbers I'm giving you, don't take them to the bank because I'm doing my best to understand. That's why I'm here asking questions. And also, by eliminating the unit, what do we risk?
I'm sorry, what was the
By
last?
eliminating the parking enforcement unit, what do we risk? You know, are we saving $500,000, but then giving up $200,000 of less revenues and people not paying, etc.? So if I can get answers to these questions, and this is just a very small part of the budget, but for us to understand, and as a 52-year resident of Ridgewood, I beg you to ask Bob to have a public hearing where he can talk like he did a fantastic job when he presented the background of the budget. But now we have to look at specifics. So Bob, you may not have the answers now, but I can leave you with a copy of my questions, and then I can look forward to hearing from you.
So I'll take your questions. I certainly can get you the answers. But on an overall basis, from the parking utility perspective, there are many ways that you can set up the cost to run a utility. You could have a parking authority, which would be outside the scope of the village. The village elected many years ago to include the utility under its guidance so as not to lose control by allowing an authority to go and establish rates that possibly council couldn't address. So with that being said, when a utility is created in a municipality, it is required to be self-sustaining. So the revenue stream has to be sufficient enough every year to pay the expenses to run the utility. So right now, roughly $2.5 million, again, I'll get you the specifics. It costs $2.5 million to run our parking utility. That includes debt service on any construction projects, on the garage. It includes the PEO enforcement, which, by the way, we only have 2 full-time right now. Last year, I think we had 1 and 2 or 3 part-timers. It varied during the year. COVID sort of knocked out the enforcement process. But in addition, you have the basic cost for the maintenance of the facilities. So there's a lot of factors that go into the utility itself. If you decided, council decided, that that parking was going to be made, it was going to be free to everybody, that $2.5 million will now come over to the general fund and have to be raised by taxes. So the reason for the utility is the concept of self-liquidating, so as not to impact just the village residents because other people use that utility. Same concept holds for water. Water revenue has to be sufficient to meet the needs. If there's a deficit, if the revenue stream is not sufficient to pay for those expenses, then that deficit comes over to the current fund, has to be raised by taxation. So that's the broad scheme of a utility. Your questions I will deal with directly if that's okay with you, and I'll send them to you
Sure,
in a copy
appreciate that.
council
Thank you.
on all the answers.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob. And please, I look forward to your presentation. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on or ask questions about the budget? Okay. I move the public hearing on the 2022 budget be closed.
Second.
Perrin. Reynolds.
Yes.
Steeden.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
Okay, as Mr. Rooney went through the slides, he did explain the amendments to the 2022 budget. We'll now have a resolution to approve those amendments. Whereas the local municipal budget for the year 2022 was approved on the 9th day of March 2022, and whereas the public hearing on said budget has been held as advertised, and whereas a desire to amend said approved budget, now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, that the following amendments to the approved budget of 2022 be made as per the attached Schedule A. And then Schedule A delineates similarly to what was on the slides shown. May I have a motion?
Second.
Perrin? Yes. Reynolds?
Yes.
Seaton?
Yes.
Vagianos?
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes, and before we move on, I just wanted to ask to Mr. Hallaby's comment about his apartment not receiving the notification, the budget newsletter, correct? Mm-hmm. Can we just
We'll check
maybe
with the
mail
post
it out,
office.
not just to that, but to the other two as well? Maybe they're just not in our system yet, and we need to populate that, but let's just get that out there so we can make sure.
We'll have to
everyone
talk to the post office. We
has-
will.
Yeah. Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. So the vote on the budget will be held on the special public meeting of April 27th. During the work session, we'll go into a special public meeting, and we'll vote at that time, as well as adopt the cap bank ordinance. I'd just like to thank Mr. Rooney, Mr. Sanzari, Ms. Dimitri, who all helped to put this budget together, all the department directors who have worked since last summer to get it to this point, and I thank the council for their thoughtful deliberations during the budget process, and I think we've come up with a affordable tax increase. We never want our taxes to go up, but I think that it's something that in this time of high inflation, we did our very best to make it palatable for village residents. So I just want to thank all of those people.
And I, too, will thank all the village staff, everyone who's worked so hard on this. I want to thank the public, those who have participated in this process. I think it's really important, and I'm actually, whether we agree to disagree, I think I'm always grateful to hear from the public, so I think they are important questions. And I especially want to thank my council colleagues. Those are some long meetings. It's a lot of meetings. It's meetings that take you away from family during dinner hour, shoveling pizza down your throat in very short windows of opportunity. So I just want to thank everyone, but including my council colleagues, for their time, energy, and effort to make this budget a success. So thank you, everyone. Okay, and with that, I move the clerk read ordinance 3896 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin. Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3896?
A bond ordinance providing for various water utility improvements in and by the Village of Ridgewood in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $12,797,200 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $12,797,200 bonds or notes of the village to finance the cost thereof.
Okay. Public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3896 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3897 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3897?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
Public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3897 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
You have a second?
Oh, second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. With that, we'll go on to resolutions for the Ridgewood Water.
The following resolutions, number 22-110 through 22-117, will be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the Village Council. They will be read by title only. Award contract, printing a PFAS notice. Title 59, approval, cold water meters and accessories. Award contract, cold water meters and accessories. Award sole source contract, corrosion inhibitor, ESC 532. Authorized change order, Passaic Valley Water Commission Pipeline Project, design of guide rail at Diamond Brook. Refund overpayment of water account 691 Upper Boulevard. Refund overpayment of water account 234 East Ridgewood Avenue. Refund overpayment of water account 235 Dayton Street. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3905.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3905 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic, at Section 265-56, Schedule 6, prohibited turns at intersections.
I move that ordinance 3905 be adopted on first reading and that May 11th, 2022 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. I move the first reading of ordinance 3906.
Second.
Perrin.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Seaton.
Yes.
Vagianos.
Yes.
And Newton.
Yes. So ordered. I'm sorry. So ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 3906 by title?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 165 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, garbage, rubbish, refuse, and recycling, at Article 2, waste collection.
I move that ordinance 3906 be adopted on first reading and that May 11th, 2022 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3898 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3898?
A bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Village of Ridgewood and the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $5,173,400 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,915,000 bonds or notes of the village to finance part of the cost thereof.
Public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3898 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3899 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3899?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
Public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
A second.
Oh, that must be me. Yes. Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3899 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Thank you. Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3900 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3900?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 260 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, trees and shrubs.
The public hearing is now open. Is that a call-in? I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3900 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3901 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3901?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
The public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3901 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3902 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3902?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 190 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Land Use and Development at Section 190-99 zoning map.
Public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that.
Oh, stereo.
I got it. I move that ordinance 3902 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3903 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
I'm going to recuse myself from this matter.
Okay. Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3903?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 265 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood, Vehicles and Traffic at Section 265-33, Permit Parking.
Okay, public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3903 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. I move the clerk read ordinance 3904 by title on second reading and the public hearing thereon be open.
Second.
I'm also going to recuse myself from this matter.
Okay. Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 3904?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
Okay, public hearing is now open. I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
I move that ordinance 3904 be adopted on second reading and final publication as required by law.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
The following resolutions, number 22-118 through 22-144, will be adopted on a consent agenda with one vote by the Village Council. They will be read by title only. Title 59, approval, horticultural supplies, award contract, horticultural supplies. Title 59, approval, road resurfacing and repairs, award contract, road resurfacing and repairs. Award contract under state contract, tri-band radios, police department. Award contract under state contract, portable radios. Award contract under state contract, gasoline and diesel fuel. Award contract under state contract in Somerset Cooperative Pricing System, tires and related supplies. Award contract under state contract, parts and supplies, fleet services. Award contract under state contract, computer and server equipment, Village of Ridgewood and Ridgewood Water. Award contract under state contract, computer equipment. Award contract under Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program, lease of Ford Explorer, Health Department. Award professional services contract, Animal Control Services and Waterfowl Management, 2021 to 2022. Award professional services contract, Animal Control Services and Waterfowl Management, 2022 to 2023. Authorize agreement with PSE&G installation and direct install for energy-efficient lighting and HVAC equipment at Village Hall. Authorize Ridgewood Division of Fleet Services to negotiate body shop services. Declare property surplus, police vehicles. Accept grant and authorize execution of grant agreement. USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service Emergency Watershed Protection Program grant. Endorse application for community development block grant, Share Inc., 104 Cottage Place and 130 Prospect Street, air purification system. Endorse application for community development block grant, Share Inc., 104 Cottage Place, COVID-19 preparedness, kitchen renovation and food preparation. Authorize release of performance surety bond, Onyx Equities LLC, The Benjamin. Authorize encroachment agreement, 80 Oak Street. Approve Eagle Scout project, the refurbishment of Citizens Park. Appoint members to the Open Space Committee. Appoint member to Green Ridgewood. Award a contract for leasing of Pease Building. Declare fire department property surplus. I just want to mention that this one declares Ridgewood Fire Department turnout gear, jackets, pants, firefighter helmets, firefighter boots, firefighter goggles, a pike pole, closet hooks, a sledgehammer, and a trumpet bar surplus property, and it authorizes the village manager to donate the surplus property to the Clifton Fire Department to be sent to Ukraine for their use in their war against Russia. May I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Knutson.
Yes.
The following resolutions, number 22-145 through 22-147, will be considered separately and read in full. 145, approved floodplain acquisition plan. Resolution approving the flood acquisition plan for the Village of Ridgewood. Whereas the Land Conservancy of New Jersey has prepared a flood acquisition plan report identifying certain properties within designated flood hazard areas in the Village of Ridgewood as sustaining repetitive loss and severe repetitive loss, which makes it a confidential report and not a document available to the public. And whereas the report documents and maps past flooding events and identifies areas in the greatest need of assistance. And whereas the report was the result of a study made possible through the Land Conservancy of New Jersey, Rutgers Cooperative Extension Water Resources Program, and the County of Bergen on a shared services contract basis at no cost to the Village of Ridgewood. And whereas the report was presented to the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood in closed session due to its confidential nature on December 1st, 2021. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village of Ridgewood hereby accepts the Village of Ridgewood Flood Acquisition Plan Report dated September 30th, 2020, and be it further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to Adam Strobel, Division Director, County of Bergen, Division of Open Space, 1 Bergen County Plaza, Hackensack, New Jersey, and Barbara Heskins Davis, the Land Conservancy of New Jersey, 19 Boonton Avenue, Boonton, New Jersey. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Perrin,
Yes, I find this to be a very important measure to help the victims of repeated floods, and only if they wish for the help. It is voluntary on the part of homeowners if they wish to sell their property, and the county and FEMA would help the village acquire the property. I think this is a wonderful opportunity to gain open space in Ridgewood, and to help residents who are literally underwater.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Knutson.
Yes.
Okay. Next is extend grab-and-go parking spaces. Whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood established a pilot program and extensions of the program for the grab-and-go parking spaces in the Central Business District, which have been effective in assisting those driving into the Central Business District to have a free parking space for 15 minutes as they patronize a business or an eatery in the Central Business District. Whereas the grab-and-go parking spaces have assisted in keeping both businesses and eateries open and operating during the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas the most recent extension of the grab-and-go parking spaces is through April 30th, 2022, and whereas the Village Council would like to further fully discuss whether or not they wish to continue to provide free 15-minute parking spaces to customers of businesses and eateries for grab-and-go pickup, and in order to do so, the Village Council has decided to extend the deadline for the grab-and-go parking spaces to May 31st, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council hereby approves the extension of the pilot program for the grab-and-go parking spaces in the Central Business District to May 31st, 2022, and be further resolved that during the month of May 2022, the fee for each grab-and-go parking space shall be $250 per space, and be it finally resolved that those wishing to fund a grab-and-go parking space during the month of May 2022 must file an application with the Village Manager's Office and pay the $250 fee per grab-and-go parking space. Are we going to take off the date, the deadline to pay, which is April 25th?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just say grab-and-go parking space. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
And I'm going to recuse myself from this matter.
Okay. Perrin?
Yes, I'm going to vote in favor of this. I wish the extension were longer, but in deference to my colleagues, I'm just voting yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
and Newton.
I'm going to vote yes, but I do have a question. So when we did valet parking, we did that by ordinance, correct? We had an application process and a fee base and an application. And so the reason I felt that we should do this way is so that we have additional information and can do this properly, and if we're going to continue with the program, to have this appropriately placed throughout the central business district and not to impact any of our repetitive parking. But I think we have to do this the right way, because if we're going to continue to do it on resolution, there's nothing in place to collect the fees, there's nothing legally in place, and I think that we have to organize this in a manner that allows for an application process and everything to be done properly. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I would just change the word right way to more formal way. Because what we did temporarily, and
Yeah, no, it's
Just
a
to make
great
that
point,
point.
because all of these COVID measures were never intended, they were intended to be short-term, but if we acknowledge that there are certain aspects of the grab-and-go parking spaces that are worthwhile keeping, because, in some instances, I think that it lessens the double parking issues. But again, I think they need to be more strategically placed. But I definitely think that this should be done the right way if it's going to be extended any time beyond a temporary COVID measure.
Okay. All right, so your vote is?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Okay. Okay. The next one is awarding contract for Maple Park Turf Field remediation. Whereas the Village of Ridgewood experienced excessive rain on April 7, 2022, causing floodwaters from the Hohokus Brook to damage the turf field at Maple Park, which requires remediation by a qualified contractor. And whereas the scope of work, which must be done in a prompt, timely, and professional manner for the health and safety of all park users, includes the following for the turf field: removal of all sand, debris, and wrinkles, repair of all seam separations, inlay repairs, power sweeping to remove silt, applying disinfectant, rejuvenating and decompacting the infill across the turf field, and straightening, aligning field markings as needed. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the contract for this work be and is hereby awarded to the lowest responsible quote from the Land Tech Group, Inc., 105 Sweeneydale Avenue, Bayshore, New York, in an amount not to exceed $28,478.84. And be it further resolved that the Chief Financial Officer has certified that funds are available in account number C-04-55-9CR-515. You have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes.
Okay. The next item is designation of the Valley Hospital property as an area in need of redevelopment. Mr. Rogers, give us a brief explanation of that matter.
yes, we did discuss this last week, and basically this is an endorsement by the council by resolution of the determination of the planning board that the Valley Hospital campus on Linwood Avenue and Van Deen is a non-condemnation, or fits the criteria for a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. I think the council had the opportunity to read the resolution that was adopted by the planning board and made the determination based on the criteria that was in that. The next step in the process after the planning board holds a public hearing is for the council to decide whether or not it wishes to endorse the determination made by the planning board. After the discussion that took place last week, it seemed the consensus of the council was that you would endorse the planning board's decision. And this resolution basically spells out the process that has been utilized by the village in terms of the way that this has come about. This resolution has to be sent down to DCA for DCA's approval. So we have to put into it the procedure that was been followed, that we sent it over to the planning board back in August of 2021. The planning board relied on a plan that was prepared by Beth McManus, our planning consultant, and that the planning board had a public hearing in regard to this on February 1, I believe, of 2022, and made determinations consistent with the findings and conclusions of the planning report, made a minor amendment, but at the same time found that the subject property, the Valley Hospital campus, meets the criteria for a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. So with this resolution and your endorsement of the planning board's opinion, the next step after this is that we're going to, the council is going to consider adopting an ordinance that's going to be prepared by Beth McManus in conjunction with consideration of her report and what has gone into it so far, to adopt an ordinance as a redevelopment plan. It may not have all the particulars that we're going to be looking at, but it's going to set forth the criteria of the items that we're going to be looking for with regard to the eventual layout of potential development of this property. And it's going to, basically, this ordinance will define the local objectives for land use development on the property, or land use concepts on the property, population densities, traffic, public transportation issues, utilities, maybe recreation and community uses. So that will be our next step after this, but it's here tonight for the resolution.
Any questions, comments from anyone?
When you say DCA, you mean Department of Community Affairs, right?
Yes.
Just wanted the public to know.
Sure. Sorry.
Anyone else? No? All right, read it, I guess.
Okay,
the
we
whole
have
thing.
a resolution. Whereas on or about August 11, 2021, the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, pursuant to Resolution 21-259, authorized the Planning Board of the Village of Ridgewood, hereinafter Planning Board, to undertake a preliminary investigation of a certain property owned by the Valley Hospital, Inc., and operated as the Valley Hospital, located at Block 3301, Lot 51, hereinafter subject area, as shown on the tax map of the Village of Ridgewood, is a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment in accordance with the criteria set forth in the local redevelopment and housing law, NJSA 40A:12A-1 et sec, and more particularly NJSA 40A:12A-5, hereinafter act or law. And whereas the subject area investigated and considered by the Planning Board as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment is located on the northeast corner of the intersection of Linwood Avenue and North Van Deen Avenue in the village. And whereas the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood recognizes that the Village Affordable Housing Planning Consultant, Elizabeth McManus, PP, AICP of Kyle McManus Associates, LLC, with business offices at 2 East Broad Street, 2nd floor, Hopewell, New Jersey, hereinafter planning consultant, conducted a preliminary investigation and prepared a report dated September 10, 2021, entitled The Valley Hospital, Block 3301, Lot 51, Village of Ridgewood, New Jersey, area in need of redevelopment and or rehabilitation, preliminary investigation, hereinafter report, which memorialized her findings and conclusions and provided her recommendations as a result of her study. And whereas on or about November 20th, 2017, the Valley Hospital in the Village of Ridgewood entered into a settlement agreement concluding litigation between the hospital and the village, known as docket number BER-L-9305-14, and appellate division docket number 000-357-16-T4. The settlement of this litigation contemplated the village's future interest in the most beneficial planning for the subject area. This interest was more formally memorialized in the settlement of the village's third-round fair share housing and redevelopment plan in 2018 and its adoption in 2020. And whereas in accordance with NJSA 48:12A-6B5, the Planning Board held a public hearing as required by the Act on February 1st, 2022, at which time the report and the findings, conclusions, and recommendations of the planning consultant could be vetted and questioned by any interested members of the public and the planning board members in attendance. And whereas, as a result of the findings, conclusions, and recommendations of the planning consultant and the questions and discussions raised at the public hearing, the planning board made a minor amendment to the report, memorialized its finding to determine that the subject area identified above satisfies or meets the criteria established in the local redevelopment and housing law. And whereas on April 13th, 2022, the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood discussed the findings of the planning consultant's report cited above, the recommendation of the planning board, and any questions of the Village Council. At this meeting, the Village Council concurred with the recommendation of the opinion of the planning consultant and the conclusions of the planning board evidenced in its resolution, and voted to designate Block 3301, Lot 51, as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment, pursuant to NJSA 48:12-12A-1 et sec, and as the subject area meets two of the criteria set forth in NJSA 48:12A-5. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, that the following matters are hereby adopted. The Village Council adopts and affirms the recommendation of the Planning Board and the findings, conclusions, and recommendation of Elizabeth McManus, the planning consultant, that Block 3301, Lot 51, being is hereby designated as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment, in accordance with the local redevelopment and housing law, NJSA 40A:12A-1 et sec, and incorporates herein by reference the September 10th, 2021 planning report of the planning consultant. The Village Council reaffirms that the village is not considering, nor will it authorize, the use of the power of eminent domain in the consideration and designation of the subject area as an area in need of redevelopment and future considerations of any proposed development of or use for the subject area. And be it further resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that a copy of this resolution shall be served upon the New Jersey Commissioner of the Department of Community Affairs, all property owners of lands identified within the subject area, and to the extent possible, all persons who appeared and commented at the public hearing held by the Planning Board on February 1st, 2022, together with a notice to any persons who may have attended the public hearing at the Planning Board that any legal action to challenge the designation of the subject area as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment must be commenced within 45 days of the receipt of the notice, and any failure to do so will preclude any future challenge to said designation. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Perrin,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Seaton,
Yes.
Vagianos,
Yes.
and Newton.
Yes. Thank you. That was a long one, Heather. With that, we will go back to comments from the public, not to exceed 5 minutes per person.
Just a question. Lillian Blood, 250 North Maple Avenue. Maple Park East floods frequently. I shouldn't say frequently, but it has happened 3 times in the last couple of years. Is there any way of building a berm like they've done around Graydon? I mean, and who would be the ones to discuss that and decide that? But I used to walk my dog all along there, and the water, I mean, there isn't a berm. There is one around Graydon. I'm just curious as whether this is something that should be considered. $28,000 to clean it up is a fair amount of money. I don't know how much a berm costs, but it seems like it would be something that should be done or at least looked into to see if it's possible. And a second thing, when you, I know you have to talk legal when you're doing these resolutions and ordinance, but it is so difficult for me to understand the Valley Hospital property, that belongs to the town? No, that belongs to Valley Hospital. So when Valley Hospital vacates that, which might be 10 years from now, or whoever, no, that property then reverts back to the town? No. We
No.
buy it back as a town?
No. It's private property. They could, if they choose to sell it, they'll sell it to whomever. It would be,
Okay.
they would just sell it.
And as a village, do we have any input into that?
We don't have any input into who they sell it to,
Yeah.
but the process that we're going through right now with declaring an area in need of redevelopment and then the follow-up as ordinances we're going to do gives us a say in the way that it gets developed after Valley Hospital vacates.
Okay. And if Valley Hospital, like when Lester died and he sold his property to the town for $1 or whatever it was, is there a chance that Valley would sell that to the town and the town could then use it for their own purpose?
There's always that chance. I wouldn't bet that dollar on it, though, but there's always that chance.
I'm just, I'm naive about this kind of thing.
I understand, but
and
it's...
I know the planning, you have to approve whatever they do, but I'm just wondering if there isn't an opportunity, since we are short of space in town, and this is a big piece of property, to just at least consider.
Lillian, I would think that Valley would want to maximize their holding and their value with regard to this property if they were ever to sell it. So,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Heather, maybe just to Lillian's question, maybe we can look at if there's any, I don't know what would even be permitted, but if there's something that can be looked at or should be looked at in terms of berm, wall, or something to mitigate that damage, it's,
Yeah, we'll take a look at it.
Okay, very good. All right, with that, there's no more, did you have anything? Okay, no takers. Okay, very good. We'll close public comment and take a resolution to go into closed session.
Be resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood that the Village Council meet in closed session on April 13th, 2022 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter on the agenda can be reached, and that said closed session be held in the caucus room on the 4th floor of the Ridgewood Village Hall, 131 North Maple Avenue, Ridgewood, New Jersey. Be it further resolved that the matters to be discussed in closed session are limited to personnel matters, to include appointments to boards and committees, professional appointments, Village Council liaison appointments, and emergency services. These matters are allowable under NJSA 10:4-12 et sec. And be it further resolved that the minutes of this meeting shall be made available to the general public when such matters have been deemed completed by resolution of the Village Council. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay,
With that,
thank you.
We'll say goodnight, wishing everyone a happy Passover, right? Happy Easter, and happy holidays, and be safe and
Iftar
enjoy.
also.
I'm sorry?
And iftar also.
Right, iftar, right.